95, 96, 97.3 Citi FM. It doesn't get any better than that. Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
Citi News.
.3 Citi FM. Hello, good evening, and welcome to Eyewitness News live from our studio here in Accra. My name is Sami Wiafe. Tonight, I'm here with
Ejubi Wiafe Akente.
And coming up, 120 days into the administration of President John Dramani Mahama, has the social contract he signed with Ghanaians been fulfilled? Tonight, we'll find out on Eyewitness News.
We'll put in place a robust code of conduct and standards for all government officials in line with the principles of ethical leadership. We will nominate all our cabinet ministers for parliamentary approval within the first 14 days in office.
15 years after Ghana's first national airline collapse, Transport Minister inaugurates 10-member task force to develop plans for a new national carrier.
So I can tell you that we have gotten to a point where His Excellency has constituted this task force, and the task force will take it from where the preparatory works have reached.
And Battle former NSA boss Kwabena Edu-Boahene gives details of how the alleged 49 million Ghana cedis were disbursed, including payments to members of parliament. Later coming up in business.
Inflation drops again, hits 21.2% in April, marking the lowest in 8 months.
Stay with Eyewitness News on 97.3 for these stories and more. Eyewitness News is live on our affiliates across the country, around the globe. We are on citinewsroom.com. And I'm talking about affiliates in the Western region. We are on Premier 101.5 FM, Beach FM on 105.5, and Sky 93.5 FM, all in Takrady. In the Bono region, you can find us on Greener FM 95.9 FM in Sunyani. In the Ashanti region, Kumasi to be precise, Orange FM 107.9 FM. In the Volta region, Akpini Radio 96.7 FM in Pando, and Heritage FM on 107.3 FM in Hawaii. In the Northern region, we are on Dasamat Radio 99.1 in Yendi, and in the Upper East region, you can find us on Word FM 88.3 FM. In the Upper West region, Westlink 88.1 FM in Lora, and the Northeast region, Eagle FM 94.1 FM in Wale Wale. And in the Havo region, you can hear us on Hammers Radio 106.5 FM. Let's go to the details of our stories. Now, President John Dramani Mahama will later this evening provide an update on the progress of his administration 120-day social contract for the Ghanaian people. The address will offer Ghanaians the opportunity to independently assess his performance over the past four months and determine the extent to which he will deliver on the promises outlined in the contract. Let us take you back to the launch of the NDC manifesto at the University of Education in Winneba on the 24th of August 2024, when then candidate John Dramani Mahama outlined the key focus areas for his first 120 days in office.
So, one, we'll put in place a robust code of conduct and standards for all government officials in line with the principles of ethical leadership, modesty, humility, integrity, and accountability. We will nominate all our cabinet ministers for parliamentary approval within the first 14 days in office. We would have named all our cabinet ministers. We will constitute the leanest and most efficient government in the history of the Fourth Republic in the first 90 days in office. We will hold a national economic dialogue to discuss the true state of the economy and prepare a homegrown fiscal consolidation program to guide the budget. Number 5, we'll commence the drafting of needed legal amendments and preparation for the implementation of the 24-hour economy policy under the office of the President. Number 6, we will establish an accelerated export development council, which I will personally chair, to promote exports as part of a broader strategy for economic transformation. Number 7, we'll convene a national consultative conference on education with CHAS, NAGRAT, NAT, CCT, NAPS, CETAG, Vice Chancellors Ghana, PRINCOF, TEWU, UTAG, PTAs, students, think tanks, academia, parents, and other stakeholders to build consensus on the improvement of our education sector, including the free SHS. Number 8, we'll scrap the following draconian taxes to alleviate hardship and ease the high cost of doing business in our first 90 days in office. 1, e-levy. 2, COVID levy. 3, betting tax. 4, emissions levy. And we'll review taxes and levies on vehicles and equipment imported into the country for industrial and agricultural purposes. 9, we'll introduce the no academic fee stress policy for all first-year students in public tertiary educational institutions, in universities, in technical universities, in polytechnics, colleges of education, nursing training institutions, under our no fee stress initiative.
President John Dramani Mahama, then candidate John Dramani Mahama, speaking at the University of Education in Winneba, the launch of the NDC manifesto on the 24th of August 2024. Let's go on to the phone line and speak to Felix Kwachiofoso. He's the Minister of State in charge of government communications. On this social contract, President Mahama, then candidate, signed with the good people of Ghana now that he is president. Felix, good evening. Thank you very much for your time. First of all, there are many who say that even though these promises were made, 26 of them, only a few of them have been achieved. The question many will ask is, when are we going to see the full achievement of all these promises that the president made, that he will do it within the first 120 days of his administration?
Well, there's a slight difficulty with your question because you don't specify exactly what you mean when you say only a few have been achieved. It is not accurate to say that only a few have been achieved. In fact, in a few hours' time, the president will take to the airwaves to broadcast to the people of Ghana. And in that broadcast, he will give a full account of what he has done in respect of each of the 25 promises that he made to the people of Ghana. So when he does the broadcast, it will become apparent that contrary to the notion that he just put out, he has indeed touched each and every one of those promises, and significant progress has been made in that regard.
Okay, Felix, so I'll take you through, this list as provided by the then candidate, John Mahama, and now president. The first one says nominate within 14 days a full cabinet, which has been done, constitute the leanest and most efficient government, talks about the establishment of a robust code of conduct, which was done recently, hold a national economic dialogue, that has been done. And then it says that within the first 90 days in office, scrap the following taxes. E-levy has gone. But then many people say that, what about the COVID levy? Because he promised that he was going to do the COVID levy, the E-levy, the 10% betting tax on winnings and the rest all together. So if E-levy has been done, what about the COVID levy?
Again, I have to express surprise about your question because you heard the finance minister clearly when he delivered the budget in March this year. He explained why the COVID levy was made and gave a specific timeline by which it will be removed. He said that the COVID levy was part of the broader VAT tax system, which is seriously flawed and requires a total overhaul. So work is ongoing, and that in the next budget it will be removed. This was stated clearly.
Yes.
At the time that he was removing, so I'm surprised that
Felix, because it was part of the 120.
Yes, but hold on. To me, you do not know what the answer is to that. So you're asking me a question whose answer won't be provided.
Felix, hold on. It was part of the 120. It was after this that we were told that it was not going to be part of the taxes that he is going to more or less scrap, because it was part of the 120 things that he said he was going to do, including the COVID levy. So it was.
So my brother, you are a news person. your duty is to report accurate facts. You ask the question as though nothing has been said, no explanation has been offered, no reason has been given in respect of the COVID tax. I'm referring to you to what the man who is doing the work on this told the whole country in the full glare of the public. It is in the budget statement. When we went to Parliament to approve the budget, before we approved it, responses were supplied in respect of this. And this was broadcast to everybody. So it is not that anybody has breached the promise in respect of COVID. A proper reasoned explanation has been offered for why it is there. A timeline has been given for its removal. So it cannot be said that that promise has been breached. That is all that I'm saying.
Fair enough. Let's go to the next 1.6. It says, within the first 90 days in office, review taxes and levies on vehicles and equipment imported into the country for industrial and agricultural purposes. What about that one, sir?
Well, that is currently in progress, and the president will speak to it this evening.
Number 7 talks about the commence drafting needed legal amendments and preparation or prepare for the implementation of the 24-hour economy. We know very well that the Dr. Guzitano was in Parliament at the last sitting to brief MPs in respect of this. What has happened to that one as well?
Yes, that is also being done. The wording is that commence drafting. I can assure you that that is currently ongoing.
Philly, let's talk about the establishment of an accelerated export development council to promote export as part of a broader strategy for economic transformation.
That was done on Monday, immediately after the launch of the Code of Conduct. The committee was sworn in, and it is chaired by the president himself, with institutional representation from other organizations that have an interest or a stake in Ghana's export sector.
That we know. What the Women's Bank, all those ones, Jumera, and the rest have been achieved. But another one which a lot of people have raised issues with, fellas, is the issue having to do with Galamsey, and which was clearly stated within the 120 issue in respect of the ban on Galamsey and then declaring and the rest. What happened to that one? Because the Galamsey conversation has come up a number of times, and how this government is dealing with it. What about that one?
Yes, we continue to deal with it. The problematic airline, which became the subject of intense discussion. On 20th March this year, the airline was laid before Parliament with a view to amending portions of it that gave the president power to grant licenses for people to mine in forest reserves. This evening, the president will speak to other steps that will be taken to strengthen it. In fact, beyond that, even the Minerals and Mining Act is going to be amended to completely prohibit mining in forest reserves. As I speak to you, know that one of the very first actions that this government took was to revoke all mining leases which were granted by the previous government, which we believe did not go through due process. It is one of the ways that we are seeking to safeguard the environment from destruction. Significant progress has also been made in terms of flashing out illegal miners. As I speak to you, 7 out of 9 forest reserves, which had become the hub of Galamsey operations, have been recovered for the state, and efforts are underway to recover the remaining 2. Over 150 excavators and other equipment used for illegal mining have been seized. Over 71 individuals have been arrested, with many of them put before courts. And other actions have been taken, which show clearly that this government is committed to the fight. You do know that about 2 weeks ago, an entire community with thousands of people living in it during Galamsey was dismantled. We've also launched the Blue Water Initiative, which involves the training of over 2,000 young Ghanaians to patrol water bodies and provide information on the activities of people who attempt to conduct some mining near or within these river bodies. So we've also launched the Tree for Life reforestation program. This was done on 21st March in the Ashanti region to recover areas that have been affected by Galamsey. So a whole gamut of activities have been undertaken or are ongoing to ensure that we meet this particular target.
But there are many who have also said that, in opposition, then candidate John Dramani Mahama, now president, was very loud on issues of Galamsey, and even members of his party at that time called for a total repeal of the LI, which a lot of people felt was not really, a good thing for us as far as the fight against Galamsey was concerned. So the expectation was that immediately he assumes office, that was going to be done. But we saw it rather being sent to Parliament, and it was a different conversation altogether. How do you have to be?
But you cannot. But it is only Parliament that has the power to repeal a law. So once the law is before Parliament,
but Felix, you are in the majority. You are a member of Parliament. You are in the majority as well.
Yes, but LIs are repealed through a process. Parliament has not been sitting in the last few weeks. We will resume in May. When we do, we look at the LI again. We cannot look at the LI when Parliament is not in session. So it doesn't matter by which margin we hold the majority. Due process has to be used. It is law. You cannot, by stroke of pen, amend it. It has to go through a specific process in compliance with Ghanaian law. And that is precisely what is happening. On 20th March, the LI was put before Parliament. Amendments were proposed to it, and it's before Parliament. When we resume, we will attend to it. And we'll do even more to ensure that we strengthen it. I've even told you that beyond the LI, the Minerals and Mining Act itself will undergo significant amendments to expressly prohibit mining in forest reserves. That even has greater force than the LI. So that shows President Mohammed's commitment to doing what exactly he said he would do in opposition. So he has not in any way, shape or form reneged. Also, you see clearly that there is no governmental complicity in Galamsey, unlike in the past. There is a willingness to tackle it, and you've seen concrete action undertaken by the security agencies to address it. On a daily basis, you see evidence, and I know that your news organization has covered some of the operations of the people who are engaged in anti-Galamsey activity, and you see it clearly on a daily basis.
Felix, away from the Galamsey issue, another issue that is also within this particular social contract is the new bill to streamline government scholarship. What has happened to that one?
That is true. Indeed, at the last cabinet meeting, that bill was presented to cabinet and we approved it. So the moment Parliament resumes, it will be put before them and they will pass it, and it will become law. Yeah.
Felix, thank you very much. Felix Kwachofoso is Minister of State in charge of government communications, speaking to us in respect of the 120 days social contract President John Dramani Mahama signed with Ghanaians. Tonight at 8:30 p.m. we are told the President will address the nation to outline what he's achieved within the last 120 days, what is expected to be achieved, and what is supposed to be done in respect of this particular social contract that he signed with Ghanaians. I just want you through a few things that which is ongoing as far as this social contract concerns. The compensation of flood victims and allocation of budget is ongoing. Also, the investigation into the Ahmed Swali death also ongoing. Investigation into the SkyTrain, as you are aware, the Attorney General and Minister of Justice held a press conference last week announcing commencement of prosecution in this particular matters. The ones which have been fulfilled, Felix Kwachi just made us know, and then the ones which are yet to be fulfilled, including a review tax on vehicles, commencement of the 24-hour economy, a review of the Custom Amendment Act 2020, the new bill to streamline, as I asked him there, said it's currently before Cabinet. Cabinet has given approval, and when Parliament resumes, it is expected that it will be sent to the House for the approval to be given. You're still listening to Eyewitness News, coming to you live from our studio here in Accra. Ajubi has some other stories.
Now, in a move to rejuvenate Ghana's aviation sector, Transport Minister Joseph Bukari Nikpe has inaugurated a 10-member task force charged with steering the establishment of a new national airline. The initiative aims to position Ghana as a competitive aviation hub in West Africa and bolster regional air connectivity. The task force is chaired by the former managing director of the Ghana Airports Company Limited, Charles Asare. Speaking at the inauguration, Minister Nikpe highlighted government's commitment to establishing a sustainable and efficient national career.
And if it comes to the aviation sector in this country, is one of the presidents that have brought a lot of improvement and innovations in the aviation sector. All these huge projects that we find in our airports and in the aviation sector were started by him and some completed by him. Aminatri is one of the good examples that if His Excellency the President tells you he's going to re-establish the national airline, should be a reminder to you that yes, he has the competence and the vision and the will to do it. So I can tell you that we have gotten to a point where His Excellency has constituted this task force, and the task force will take it from where the preparatory works have reached and ensure that within a short possible time, a national airline is announced to the good people of this country.
If you look at Ethiopia, Egypt, and Morocco, they are countries that are doing well when it comes to aviation. I mean, these countries want to take lessons from, because earlier we knew we were going to partner Ethiopian Airlines one way or the other. So I don't know if it's still something that is still being considered.
We are not going to look at anybody. We are not going to imitate anybody. We are Ghana. And if it comes to airlines, you are aware that it was Ghana Airways that was flying within the sub-region and Africa. So we have our own standards. It has collapsed, and we are coming back. We are ourselves, and we operate as Ghana.
So it was Ghana Airways, Ghana Airlines. Do you have, can you envision the name for what will be?
A task force has just been inaugurated, and I wouldn't want to jump to conclusions. At the end of the tunnel, we will see what the brand name will be, and Ghanaians will love it.
So previous concerns were that Ghana Airways collapsed because politicians abused it one way or the other. Would you assure us that when this one comes into fusion, things of this sort will not happen?
That is our past, and we are prepared to do things differently.
That was Transport Minister Joseph Bukari Nikpe speaking on behalf of the task force. The chairman, Charles Asare, pledged the team's unwavering commitment to ensuring the successful realization of the national airline. He stated that the task force will diligently work to develop a robust business model.
The vision is very clear to us. The task ahead, quite defined, and I consider our job to execute. Some of the members of the team I've worked with, and I can say confidently that we have the right set of skills and experience to deliver on his dream. It's not just his dream, and I think it's Ghana's dream. I've had discussions with some of my colleagues going back about 20 years in all the political parties' manifestos. You see an attempt to revive the Ghana National Airlines. This is the time. We are the last stop to make sure it is done. And we will do whatever we have to with your support and the support of the presidency to deliver on this in the shortest possible time.
That was the chairman of the 10-member task force charged with steering the establishment of a new national airline, Charles Asare.
You're still listening to Eyewitness News, coming to you live from our studio here in Okara. We'll go for a break, but before that, let me bring you some of your text messages. They've come in thick and fast. This one says, I would give 88% for President Mahama for his first 120-day contract. Aziz from WA says, certainly the 120 days social contract with the Ghanaians has been significant improvement over the past few months. Ghanaians are expecting to see the improvement of our road network, most especially the Techima Bole Wa Hamele Road. Change is indeed inevitable. Another one from Akapo Jr. for Hafo says, Ghanaians are less interested in the minor achievements. We are still waiting for the much talked about 24-hour economy to see the day of light. Hadi from Pig Farm says, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama is very much on course and focus on executing the 24-hour economy agenda and is paying no attention to all the ugly noise that has been made by the NPP. Another one from Al-Hassan Al-Hassan says, congratulations President Mahama and his cabinet members because they have worked to achieve a lot in the last 120 days, and Ghanaians are happy about it. Let's go back to the 120 days achievement of the John Dramani Mahama, the social contract that he signed with Ghanaians. Let's go into the phone line and speak to Professor Jan Bafo Ajamandia, who is a governance analyst, to also take his views on the first 120 days of President John Dramani Mahama. Prof, good evening. Thank you very much for your time on Eyewitness News. There are many who say that the president has achieved a lot within the last 120 days. You agree with them?
Of course, I think the president has started very well. I think most of the promises he made for the first 120 days, I think he's tried hard to meet most of them. And of course, yesterday he outdoored the code of conduct, which many of us were looking up to, because that's what perhaps will shape the behavior of his government. So I think overall he's been quite strong for these first 120 days. So we wait for the coming months to see if the initiatives he have already taken during these first 120 days will begin to make a difference in the lives of Ghanaians.
There are many who also say that he promised to achieve this set of promises in the last in 120 days, but in 120 he's not fulfilled all, left with a few of them to be done. And when people will score him, they may not score him as high as he would expect to be scored, because it's a promise you made that within 120 days you are going to achieve this. You've achieved some but left the rest.
Well, certainly, if you look at the promises, it was obvious that not all of them, 100% of them, will be achieved in 120 days. So perhaps that reflects the way our politicians exaggerate their capacities, not taking into account the environment within which they operate. So in that respect, one can question the president's promises or his commitment and all that. But I think if you look at the larger picture, he's done quite a bit. I mean, the lean government he promised, I think his ministerial appointees do not go beyond, I think, 60 or so, as he said. Even though a lot of people are questioning the number of personnel he has packed at the Jubilee House, all with all kinds of titles. So that is an issue people have raised. And I think that is a legitimate issue to raise. If they can tell us how many people have been packed at the Jubilee House as assistants and advisors and all kinds of titles, then we can be in a better position to know if, in fact, the number of his appointees in terms of budget will be lower than what we used to have under the previous government. Also, some of them, I mean, like the 24-hour economy, it doesn't take a day or so to fix. But I know that he set up a committee to work on that. Yes, the fact is that he has not been able to fulfill all the promises. That is clear. And I'm not creating an alibi for him. He has to respond to that. He should explain to the people why those outstanding promises have not been met. I think if he does that, it will reinforce the new transparency that seems to be emerging in his government.
Prof, you earlier mentioned about the code of conduct. Let's have a conversation on that one. I've heard many, including former Auditor General Daniel Dumuru, say that it should have a legal binding to the extent that it should go to Parliament. They should be passed into law so that successive governments will keep, such code for all public officials, including the political appointees. You agree to such a session?
Certainly. In fact, you know that under President Akufo-Addo, an attempt was made to have the code of conduct legislated. I'm not so clear about the reasons why it failed, but I think when you went to Parliament, you couldn't get the full support of the House to pass that. You see, if you look at the code that was released yesterday, it's very comprehensive, very encompassing, and I'm sure a lot of these appointees will be a bit uncomfortable with some of it, and rightly so. Okay? But then if you want to have a government that is transparent, that acts with integrity, then you have to comply by that. So it's a real challenge for his appointees. Now, sure, if it is legislated, then it will have a legal backing. So whoever is found to have breached any of the requirements can be subjected to the law. But my thinking is this: if laws really were to make a difference in our society in Ghana, then there should be no problems in Ghana. But we have all the laws you can imagine. Our difficulty has been how we enforce the laws how to get people to respect the law. These are two things that I think we are short of in our democracy. So now that he hasn't legislated, let us see how the president is going to enforce it. Let us see how the conduct of his appointees is going to be monitored and reported, because without any mechanism to monitor the conduct of the appointees on the basis of the code of conduct, then it will not be very relevant. But I think if you look at it carefully, I'm very sure that he's going to have the mechanism to take a close look at how his appointees comply with the code of conduct. If he doesn't, then I'm afraid he will be fighting a losing battle.
But then, Prof, if these appointees, should, go with this code of conduct and or maybe flout it, the president has announced some sanctions within, to announce to these appointees who may want to flout it. But then we live in a democracy where it's always a difficulty for a president to, announce sanctions to, appointees. You think it can be implemented to the core?
I'm not sure it can be implemented to the core. Knowing our society, where people normally find a way to dribble around legal matters. Knowing our society culturally, where, for instance, one of the provisions in the code is about gift giving, that if you receive anything worth more than 20,000, you have to report it and perhaps give it up. These are challenges, embedded in the practice of any code of conduct. Because if the appointees themselves are not dedicated to it, and they don't have the integrity to comply, then it's going to be difficult for any government, for any law to kind of get them to act according to the code. For instance, you say 20,000 amount and over should be reported. What about if somebody wants to give me a gift? It's worth 50,000 or 20,000, and he decides to give me in installment. This month he gives me 10. The following month he gives 10. Am I going to report? You see, so I think we have to look at the integrity of those that you have appointed to determine whether these people are capable of complying with the law. See, most of these codes also relate to morality. For instance, the conduct in public office, relating in terms of really how you receive your guests, how you respond, all these things, no law can enforce them. You see, that even if you legislate, how do you enforce it? But I think the expectation is that once the code is there, it becomes a guide. And if you are really committed to the cause of your president who appointed you, and the expectation is that you comply, you do the best you can to comply. So, if the president discovers that you are not, then the sanction that he says will be applied should be applied. So I guess my point is that there's no way we can have 100% success in the enforcement of these codes, because some of them can be done privately. Like, look, assets. People know that now you can't have assets privately. So a person can choose to get a nephew or a friend or somebody to have the name on the building. How do you discover that? Are you going to send investigators to really find out whether it's yours or somebody's fronting? All these are the challenges that the code will have. But I guess if we go on the assumption that people are innately good and they will do the right thing, then it will be fine. On the other hand, if we all assume that Ghanaians are rotten and they think they can find a crafty way to go around them, then of course it continues the problem that we have.
Prof, I say a big thank you for your time. Professor Bafo Agyemang-Dua is a governance analyst speaking to us on the 120-day social contract President John Dramani Mahama signed with Ghanaians. You're still listening to Eyewitness News, coming to you live from our studio here in Accra. We go for a quick break. When we come, we'll do more stories.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
Oh, jump on now.
Go. Ah, go me. At what time will you come back where I don't hear the sound of your car? Why you buy new car?
No, I not change my car. It be the same ride. It be the fuel way I change. Way one shouts it. Ever since I started using the all-new Excellium Premium Fuel, fortified with 3-in-1 action. Oh, Joe, now my car they run like electric car. No, it's so.
This is the type of fuel where they want to. Because now engine they cost. Where they want for way if I buy it go protect my engine. And with the small way I buy, I go drive, sir.
Absolutely. It's like strapping a turbocharger to your engine and giving it a protector. And what they bust my mind said be the 3-in-1 action, no? Excellium they prevent up to 99% of deposit. It be anti-wear, some be anti-corrosion. Won't pay when I open there.
Hey, so where can I find this magical fuel?
Just head over to any Total Energy service station and your car will thank you.
Hey, then make a finish my gobe fast, then rush go Total Energies. My friend, but why your hand my gobe inside?
I give you info. Make a fill the gobe too small.
Go.
Excellium is designed to protect your car engine, decrease fuel consumption, and lower CO2 emissions. Don't say fuel, say Excellium. Choose Excellium, choose quality.
Hey, of course. You know we have been friends since childhood, and we always tell each other everything.
Oh, Cynthia, I know that, and that is why you're my best friend.
We even eat together, and I have spare keys to your room. I also know your phone password.
Cynthia, don't I also know your phone password?
Yes, so. But what about your Momo PIN?
Hey, no way.
Indeed, Akos. Your Momo PIN is your secret. Do not share your PIN for any reason or give your PIN to someone to send cash on your behalf. Debida, never give out your PIN or OTP as a means of claiming a so-called promotional prize one. Your PIN is like your toothbrush. It only belongs to you. Stay alert.
MTN.
Let your voice be heard on Eyewitness News on Facebook at facebook.com/Citi97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/Citi973, and Instagram at instagram.com/Citi973 with the hashtag Eyewitness News.
You're welcome back to the Eyewitness News on Citi 97.3 FM. The Minister of Roads and Highways, Kwame Gavin Abuja, has expressed concern about the rising cost of road projects despite a decline in the quality of work. He revealed that the country is expected to pay nearly 100 billion Ghana cedis to contractors, comprising a debt of 21 billion cedis and an additional 60 billion in interest due to delayed payments. Speaking at a sword-cutting ceremony for the construction of the Ghana Institution of Surveyors Center of Excellence, Mr. Abuja called on the institution to help ensure that project cost reflects the quality of work delivered. The president of the Ghana Institution of Surveyors, Kofi Obeng Ayirebi, says the new Center of Excellence being constructed by the institution will help address these concerns.
A center to technically evaluate public and private sector projects to ensure cost efficiency, effectiveness, and sustainability. And we've shown it in our project here. It will also provide post-project audits for greater transparency and accountability. Data processing hub, very, very key here. It will be a repository of an analysis center for vital data on infrastructure costs, land values, and real estate market values, supporting evidence-based policy making and investment. Additionally, the center will serve as a training and capacity building institution, empowering both young and experienced professionals in ADR, project auditing, cost engineering, and data analytics.
That was President of the Ghana Institution of Surveyors, Kofi Obeng Ayirebi. Now, 4 individuals standing trial over the recent cocaine bust at the Swiss port terminal of the Kotoka International Airport have each been granted bail to the sum of 13 million Ghana cedis with 4 sureties. The accused, Gariba Soli, Josiah Beidu, Emmanuel Minta, and Kwabena Ampofo Anti, have also been placed on a no-fly list. Their biodata have been submitted to the passport office to prevent the issuance of new passports. They were arrested for allegedly attempting to export 73 slabs of cocaine without authorization. According to the court documents, officers of the Narcotics Control Commission, during a routine inspection at the Swiss port terminal, intercepted 3 wooden boxes labeled as carrying artifacts. Upon further investigation, the boxes were found to contain 73 slabs of a powdered substance, which later tested positive for cocaine.
You're still listening to Eyewitness News, coming to you live from our studio here in Accra. Let's go to some other stories. And former National Signals Bureau boss Kwabena Edu Boahene has, in a letter to the National Security Coordinator, rejected allegations of misappropriation of state funds and provided a breakdown of how monies in questions were spent, including payments to members of parliament, an opposition party, and a special aid to the president-elect of the 2024 election. In a letter cited by Citi News, Edu Boahene explained that the funds in question were linked to transactions between 2 accounts established by the National Security to address pressing needs at that time. Let's speak to our court correspondent, Hansen Ajimai, who has details of this particular transaction. Good evening. Thank you very much for your time, Hansen.
Good evening, Sammy.
What more can you tell us?
So, Kwabena Edu Boahene is simply asking the National Security Coordinator, the National Security Advisor, and essentially the current Director General of the National Signals Bureau to intervene in the matter, because according to him, the facts are clear and the issues involved are of national security importance. And if the trial continues as it is, with a public commentary that is characterized with this case, the national security issues would have to be made public. But he says he is, even though he's tried as much as possible to withhold classified information from interrogators, he says it is prudent at this moment to notify the office on the current development unless the national security architect of the country risks of public disclosure as far as these expenditures are concerned. So the letter lists about 10 disbursements that were actually made to various institutions and various persons. And he explains that the Bureau of National Communications account is a security operations account run by the national security apparatus. The BNC communications account, which the Office of the Attorney General says is a privately owned account, he explains that BNC account is a special purpose vehicle account that was also created by the national security architect. He goes to clarify his wife's involvement was with the explicit authorization of the national security authorities as well as UMB. So the first disbursement he talks about is a 9.537 million Ghana cedis that was paid to the Israeli company that has been mentioned throughout this time, the ISA Holdings, and that was particularly for the payment or part payment towards the special cyber and electronic surveillance solutions. Then he mentions over 6.9 million Ghana cedis that was paid for counterterrorism and special operations activities, a 3.78 million for Operation Calm Life, which is for anti-kidnapping and violent crimes, and then a 960,000 Ghana cedis paid in 2020 and 2021 as MP's allowance for the Defense and Interior Committee of Parliament, and this was for in furtherance of the passage of the National Signals Bureau Act 2020.
So he paid 960,000 and then 309,000 to members of Parliament or members of the Interior and Defense Committee of Parliament.
So 960,000 to the Defense and Interior Committee for the passage of the act that created the National Signals Bureau. And then the national security, and from his wording, he's not saying he, but rather the national security.
The disbursement, yeah.
The national security then paid 309,000 Ghana cedis in 2024 to the Subsidiary Legislation Committee for the passage of legislative instrument, the NSB-LI. So usually after an act is created, an LI is created to give final details on how certain provisions in the act should be implemented. So for the act itself, 960,000 Ghana cedis was paid to the Defense and Interior Committee at the time as allowances for the MPs. And then in 2024, 309,000 Ghana cedis was paid for the enactment of the LI, but this time to the Subsidiary Legislation Committee. And then he talks about an 8.3 million Ghana cedis, which was paid in support of an opposition party. The opposition party, we are told, you used that 8.3 million Ghana cedis to purchase communication equipment for election results collation. Then he goes ahead to say that 5.1...
Did he mention this particular opposition political party?
No, he did not. He did not. Then he goes ahead to say that 5.135 million Ghana cedis was paid to a special aid to the president-elect of the December 2024 general election. This 5.135 million Ghana cedis was used in the purchase of vehicles such as 2024 Nissan Patrol Platinum, 2024 Nissan Patrol Titanium, and 2022 Land Cruiser GXR. He also says that some 520,000 Ghana cedis was paid as human security operations for the national security coordinators. So, in essence, these, according to him, he didn't steal these monies. The monies were transacted for national security purposes, and so he is asking the national security coordinator to intervene in the matter. And if I can read relevant portions of the letter, he says, I give you my highest assurance that Angela, which is his wife, and I would never steal public funds, as is being deliberately and wickedly portrayed by the Attorney General. In any case, how does one steal public funds in the manner being described by the Attorney General without being flagged by the Auditor General? Further, I give you my highest assurances that Angela, his wife, and I would never take what does not belong to us, even if privately arranged. We are full of content with the modest blessings God has given us. What is evidently clear is that the Yoko boss, Raymond Archer, is deliberately misrepresenting or distorting the facts to the authorities, and in the process causing unnecessary sensitization that could embarrass the government and national security.
So this is the letter.
Yes,
this is the
letter. And I'm craving your urgent intervention to avert it before it becomes too late. He gives indications that he wrote this while he was in Yoko cell. So it has the concluding part, my best regards from Yoko cells. So this is the letter, and it is transmitted by his lawyers, and the lawyers wrote a cover letter. In that letter, they indicated that they had to transmit it on his behalf because he is currently in the custody of the Economic and Organized Crime Office, and we've confirmed from the lawyers that indeed this is authentic.
When is he supposed to go back to court?
The case has been adjourned to May 13, which is next week, for further directions. He was remanded for 7 working days, and so if we didn't include the Friday which he was remanded, then the 7 working days would perhaps take us to next week, Tuesday. And so I'm sure by then they may go back to court on the bail issues again. But the judge had adjourned specifically to May 13 to give further directions on how the case will proceed.
Hansen Ajimai, thank you very much. Hansen Ajimai is our court correspondent, giving us details on a letter written by the embattled former NSA boss Kwabna Edu Buahini on how he giving details on how the alleged 49 million cedis was disbursed, including payment to some members of parliament, among others. AGB has some more stories.
Policy think tank Imani Africa has clarified that its petition against the Electoral Commission is not intended to seek the removal of the EC chairperson. Imani filed the petition with the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice (SRAJ) last year, calling for an urgent investigation into what it describes as constitutional and administrative breaches by the Electoral Commission. Speaking to Citi News, Imani Africa President Franklin Kudjo accused the EC of disposing electoral materials under circumstances the think tank believes amount to misappropriation, wastage, and misuse of public resources.
I suspect because of the elections, it has a bit stalled a bit. But again, the SRAJ received it, and then, as probably might want to use the word prima facie, they decided to go into the merits of the case. They asked us for some follow-up details. We backed it up. We sent it to them, and so we've been waiting. Hopefully, maybe, our thinking was that maybe by the end of this quarter, we'll get to know the updates of the case. We were asking for investigations to the EC since 2020, but the ruling party at the time now was ignored that. So frankly, I don't care how they interpret it, because it's not as if we are doing it because there's a new dispensation. No, we did it while they were in power. So you cannot accuse us of playing to the hands of anybody who wants to remove the EC. That's their business. We are asking for investigations into the possible, of course, corruption issues. And so that's all we are pursuing.
Yet President for Imani Africa Franklin Kudjo speaking there. Now, Education Minister Haruna Idrisu has disclosed that about 39,000 appointment letters were issued for recruitment into the education sector without the necessary financial clearance. Some aggrieved teachers picketed today at the Education Ministry, demanding staff IDs for those already at post, as well as regional posting letters for those whose documents are stuck at various regional offices across the country. Haruna Idrisu explained that the current government can only absorb between 9,000 to 12,000 of those recruited due to budget constraints. Addressing the teachers, the minister noted that an ongoing audit and validation exercise will determine who among the recruits are qualified and currently at post.
Appointment letters were issued to persons numbering up to 39,000 when there was no financial clearance to do that to begin with. So that's problematic. So of the 39,000, probably government may be able to absorb 9, 11, 12,000, but certainly not 39,000. So whoever misled you, deceived you, is not John Mahama or Haruna Idrisu administration, not at all. Somebody probably, I won't use the word con, that's too strong, but deceptively got a number of you unknowingly, without knowing, to yield to some recruitment of a sort, which recruitment was not approved legitimately. So we are auditing to know that yes, you have the right qualification, you are entitled to the appointment, and there you are at post.
Education Minister Haruna Idrisu speaking there.
Let's all listen to Eyewitness News coming to you live from our studio here in Accra. We'll go for a quick break. When we come back, we'll do business.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
This advert is FDA approved.
Oh, jump on now.
Go, the go. Go me. And what time when you come back, we are not hear the sound of your car? Why you buy new car?
No, I not change my car. It be the same, right? It be the fuel way I change. Way one shouts it. Ever since I started using the all-new Excellium Premium Fuel, fortified with 3-in-1 action. Oh, Joe, now my car they run like electric car. No, it's so.
This is the type of fuel where they want to. Cause now engine they cost. Where they want for way if I buy it, it go protect my engine. And with the small way I buy, I go drive, sir.
Absolutely. It's like strapping a turbocharger to your engine and giving it a protector. And what they bust my mind, Seth, be the 3-in-1 action, no? Excellium, they prevent up to 99% of deposit. It be anti-wear, some be anti-corrosion. Won't pay when I open them.
Hey, so where can I find this magical fuel?
Just head over to any Total Energy service station and your car will thank you.
Hey, then make a finish my go be fast, then rush go Total Energies. My friend, but why your hand my go be inside?
I give you info. Make a fill the go be too small.
Go.
Excellium is designed to protect your car engine, decrease fuel consumption, and lower CO2 emissions. Don't say fuel, say Excellium. Choose Excellium, choose quality.
Polytank is everywhere, durable and authentic. Stronger brand you can trust. Polytank, we get some more Rambo and get some more Super. And the Polytank we did. Polytank, Polytank, the original, always the best.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
Get the details. Every significant financial transaction, every market movement, and all the policies that affect your business. Citi Business News. Be informed.
Time now for Citi Business News on Eyewitness News. I am Ejubi Wiafe Akente. The rate of inflation declined to 21.2% in April 2025, its lowest level in 8 months, as a stronger cedi has helped curb import-related price pressures. The latest figure marks a slight improvement from the 22.4% recorded in March and reflects the 5th consecutive month of disinflation in 2025. This means consumer prices fell by 0.8% month-on-month during the period under review. Both food and non-food inflation moderated during the period, contributing to the downward trend. Food inflation slowed to 25% in April from 26.5% in March, while non-food inflation decelerated to 17.9% from 18.7%. Here is government statistician Dr. Alhassan Idrisu.
Consumer Price Index for April 2025 was 258.6, and this is coming up from 213.3 recorded in April 2024, which represents a year-on-year inflation rate of 21.2%. This means that in April 2025, the general price level was 21.2% higher than what was recorded in April 2024. This represents a 1.2 percentage points decrease from the March rate of 22.4%. In other words, inflation slowed by 1.2 percentage points over the period. And the good news here is that this is the 5th time we are seeing inflation decline.
Dr. Alhassan Idrisu is the government statistician. The Bank of Ghana has hinted of expanding the Financial Industry Command Security Operations Center to include other regulatory bodies while it revises its Cyber and Information Security Directive to strengthen the sector's digital defense. This is part of efforts to tackle cyber and technology-related fraud in the financial sector. According to the Central Bank's 2024 latest fraud report, nearly 10 million Ghana cedis was lost to cyber and technology-related fraud, up from 8.9 million cedis in 2023. First Deputy Governor Dr. Zachary Mumuni has been speaking at a stakeholder engagement on the way forward for the center.
When we collaborate, we do not fight alone. We defend our sector with shared purpose and shared tools. While FICSOC offers a powerful collective shield, individual institutions must continue investing in their own cyber capabilities. A shared defense does not replace internal diligence. it strengthens it. As a regulator, we are not resting on our success story. We are here today because we know cybersecurity is never static. It evolves, and so must we. Together, we must reflect, re-strategize, and build on our shared progress. Accordingly, the bank has initiated a progress to revise the Cyber and Information Security Directive. The updated directive will address emerging risks tied to artificial intelligence, data privacy, cloud computing, and digital governance. These are new areas that were not included in the earlier directive, and so the need to update this is now more than ever imperative.
Dr. Zachary Mumuni is first deputy governor for the Bank of Ghana. Now, panelists on Channel 1 TV's 120 Days Mahama Review program have given a positive verdict on key economic policies rolled out under the early days of President John Mahama's administration. They point to signs of fiscal discipline, efforts to manage government spending, revenue mobilization measures, and a stabilized disinflation and the exchange rate regime. The program, hosted by Bernard Avler, focused on trade, agriculture, macroeconomic stability, and other critical sectors. Let's first hear from Associate Professor of Economics at the University of Ghana Business School, Ejapoma Jechi Darkon, who believes the government is on track with its economic research agenda.
Once the revenue handles, some of the revenue handles were removed, right, he recognized that there was going to be a gap, and so he had to make up for the gap, and so he had to also look for a way to reduce his expenditure, at least in the interim, to send some signal that he's trying to carry out fiscal reforms, and that will bring confidence into the economy and affect many more macroeconomic variables in the economy. So I look at what is happening with the Treasury bill rate currently. It tells us that he has reduced his borrowing, or the government is reducing its borrowing domestically. Of course, we've been shut out of the external market, the ICM. We've been shut out of it. And so once the Treasury bill rate reduced drastically, it sends a signal that he's reducing his borrowing appetite. My only problem with that was that I thought it should have been done slowly.
Ejapoma Jechi Darkon is an associate professor of economics at the University of Ghana Business School. The managing partner at policy think tank Confidence, Michael Koto, was quick to warn that the success of the government's proposed 24-hour economy policy will depend heavily on resolving persistent issues in the energy sector.
Reliable electricity, and that's important for its own sake, but it's also important because of 24-hour economy.
Correct.
As of now, there's still a lot of inconsistencies in the power supply. We know there's the huge, energy sector debt that makes it almost impossible, along with all the other structural issues in the power sector, to bring down the cost of energy. If we don't do that, if we don't fix the issues in the power sector, there's no way we're going to be able to drive the kind of investment and production and productivity we're looking for, including 24-hour economy. So that has to be done. Then there's 24-hour economy itself, which is the big elephant in the room. I think this is about the most audacious promise that the president made, and his legacy overall at the end of his tenure is really going to rest on this. He can do well in other areas, but I think the expectations are really high, especially because 24-hour economy connects to so many other things across the board.
You heard Michael Koto, and he is the managing partner at policy think tank Confidence. There was also a quick advice for the government in the agriculture sector, where value chain players believe more concrete action is immediately needed for a turnaround. Research scientist Professor Roger Canton argued that without clear policy direction and targeted investment, the full potential of the sector would remain untapped.
The last is irrigation is so key.
Amazing.
And I'm not saying that irrigation cannot feed us totally. Currently, as I talk, we have not up to 10% of our arable land that is under irrigation. And all the irrigation dams you have were all built under by the late General Champo, and I salute him for that. No other government ever kept anything on irrigation. So that is an issue. So irrigation needs to be, and we're talking about not gargantuan, very difficult projects to manage, like total irrigation. We're talking about small scales.
Professor Roger Canton is a research scientist. As part of efforts to boost Ghana's tourism sector, We Up has officially launched its flagship destination. The facility is expected to play a key role in promoting domestic tourism and strengthening the country's eco-adventure landscape. Speaking at the launch, a director of the recreational park disclosed that the multi-million cedi investment is projected to create jobs and stimulate local businesses.
It is also an exciting day for the local tourism business in the Bree, because in We think we have a solid addition to the tourist options in this part of the country. It's something which we think would help attract many more visitors to Bree and thereby boost the local economy and also employment significantly in the area.
You heard Felix Yeboah, and he's the director at We Up Mega Zipline and Adventure Park in Ebri. On her part, consultant for school and corporate at We Up Zipline and Recreational Center, Joy Sakite, noted the facility is designed to appeal to families, corporate teams, schools, and solo thrill seekers alike.
Owners or the founders' intent is that we will begin to teach children how to enjoy the environment, and then they become people who would conserve the environment. How do we do this? So we do this through 3 of the products that we have. The first one is through adventure. So when you walk in here, you have an adventure, and although you are having an adventure, you are equally in a rainforest, and you realize that nothing had been destroyed.
That was Joy Sakite Ahidome, and she is the consultant for school and corporate at We Up Mega Zipline and Adventure Park in Ebri. And that will be all for City Business News on Eyewitness News. I am Ijubi Wiafe Akinting. Up next is Point Blank.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
Are you feeling tired after a hard day's work? Have you lost your appetite even for your favorite dish? Viral Blood Tonic is a nutritionally balanced, pleasant-tasting tonic fortified with iron and vitamins to boost your appetite and energy levels for high performance. Viral Blood Tonic, easy to take and good for the family. Viral from Danex Iting Starwin PLC. If symptoms persist after 48 hours, consult a physician. This advert is FDA approved.
Charlie, where are you?
Boss man, I'm at the bank.
Really? But your car is in front of your house.
Bro, my bank on my phone, Charlie.
Oh, how?
EcoBank, bro. With EcoBank mobile app, I can do everything, anywhere, anytime. Listen, I just checked my account balance, paid Ahmed's school fees, and sent money to my grandma at Wale.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Masa, just download the EcoBank mobile app from the Google Play Store or the App Store, or dial *770# and be your own bank manager.
Manager.
Whether to pay bills or fees, to check account statements, send money across Ghana, abroad, and more, EcoBank mobile app has got it covered. EcoBank Mobile, making everyday people live everyday lives the EcoBank way. EcoBank, the Pan-African bank.
Let your voice be heard on Eyewitness News on Facebook at facebook.com/Citi97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/Citi973, and Instagram at instagram.com/Citi973 with the hashtag Eyewitness News.
Welcome back. You're still listening to Eyewitness News on Citi 97.3 FM. Tonight on Point Blank, we'll still stay within the conversation of the 120 days administration of President John Dramani Mahama. And on Point Blank tonight, we bring you an excerpt of a conversation or a discussion that went on this afternoon on Channel 1 TV, where the panel assessed the achievement of the Mahama administration in the last 120 days and the social contract he signed with Ghanaians. On the panel, we had Mary Ada, Executive Director of the Transparency International. She spoke on anti-corruption and good governance. Kofi Asari, Executive Director of the Africa Education Work, he spoke on education. Vera Ado, Programs Officer at CDD Ghana, spoke on inclusion and youth development. And Professor Roger Canton, a research scientist, spoke on agriculture. We bring you playback of the conversation.
Good governance, anti-corruption, 121 days. What is your assessment?
Let me start by saying that this hasn't happened naturally before in our setting, and so it's like a rare occurrence for us to then be assessing the president on what he has set for himself. These are basic guidelines he's placed within the context of governance he wants to execute. I say they are basic because we have already said is institute, investigate, review, and others, and so these are very basic. And I'm very happy that we have basic parameters based on which we'll be building on the governance base as the government progresses into the second quarter and into the year. And judging by the budget, you also then see reflected manifesto promises that are supposed to be implemented. And one that comes to mind quickly is building or strengthening the anti-corruption institutions to be able to do their work. You realize that even the budget allocations for these institutions were increased significantly.
Good.
So it means that government's commitment to prosecute the agenda of anti-corruption is great. We were a little worried about how this was going to be done, but clarity was given in the budget presentation. Again, we are hesitant because sometimes allocations do not necessarily mean disbursements, and we have had history of assessing and coming to the conclusions that sometimes not even 70% of these allocations are provided for. But it is a good thing. It's not happened. The president has set these benchmarks for himself based on which he wants to, based on the social contract he wants to execute with the people of Ghana. And I think it's very good.
Wonderful.
We don't see it very much, so this is good. However, it is my opinion as well that the issues we are discussing and the critiques we give must also be taken and then considered going forward. I hear in the economy discussion the issues around the artificial holding back of issues from the budget side. And discussions have been ongoing because of the sweeping of various accounts and others, and government machinery not running as it should. But then within the governance space, let me talk about the things he said, which he has done.
Good.
He said he would put in place a code of conduct, a robust one at that. And I must also again say that this is a very good document. It outlines behaviors that are captured in the Constitution, which are supposed to be executed by every public officer. So we are looking at chapter 24 of the Constitution, which talks about issues around asset declaration. And the president, again, has shown by example even that people who do not comply would have themselves to blame. It is a good thing to see that happen. Because in the past, for me, I'm not doing a comparative analysis of sort, but in the past, we have seen presidents encourage their appointees to do the needful. However, they didn't. And I'm not just talking about the recent past, because we have done requests for information in the past beyond just the recent past, and realize that many appointees of state do not take the issues around asset declaration seriously, even though we have an act that is supposed to do so. Again, we see the president, perhaps because of past experience, again, take the issue of conflict of interest seriously. And this is captured, and it's so well captured in the the code of conduct.
Good.
I believe we are more informed when we come from experiences of the past which have not served us well. The president again showed by example that he had received some gifts, and the gifts issue is as well one of the key components that is really exhaustively captured in the code of conduct. And he presented the 2 vehicles, and he said he was giving them to the state. The issues of conflict of interest are important, and if this is a sign of what is to come, then I believe that it is a good thing that the president is institutionalizing. To say again that his appointees must declare any gift that they have received that exceeds the 20,000 Ghana cedis. I don't know how much that would be in dollars. Perhaps those of you in the audience would be able to tell me that. For us in civil society and for us in the Transparency International, we believe that's a huge amount. Because looking at the minimum or average wage of the Ghanaian, even those in the middle class, I believe directors in various sectors do not get 10,000 cedis to go home with. And so, based on what we set that minimum benchmark of 20,000, it's an issue we can interrogate going forward. Codes can be reviewed, so I believe we can do so as well. One thing I would want to say, however, is that the codes are not exhaustive enough, and they are administratively very good to manage behavior of public service. And codes in the ethics regime are fantastic, but then they do not curb behavior when it comes to issues around compliance and others. The president has exclusive powers and can sanction. But then, what if tomorrow Bernard is president and you believe that these are not what I want? That's why we are thinking, we believe it is a better approach to go for the Conduct of Public Officers Bill, which was started during the 2013 regime of the current president, done by Shraj, inputted by civil society. In 2016, we had almost passed, but then the issues around verification and publication of the assets is what truncated the process. Because we brought in the issues of culture and why armed robbers and others would come at us if we declare and then also openly publish our assets. So we believe that going forward, particularly for conflict of interest, it's not criminalized. And so it's difficult to prosecute. So why don't we go for the law which talks about assets, talks about conflict, and also encapsulates the issue of high worth gifts, as well as general conduct, which are spelled out in all.
So while the code is good, the bill is better.
The law is better.
Education. Where is the man? When you see the minister, when you hear the president, when you analyze the first 3 months or 4 months, do you say the reset in education has started?
Well, let me indicate that assessing the government performance in the first 120 days in education, along the lines of the questions President Mahama set for himself, the 5 questions, is different from assessing the performance of the government in education. Entirely.
Which one will you do first?
I will do the questions he said first.
He said, okay, let's do that one first.
So he said 5 questions. First, he said that he was going to commence the distribution of sanitary pads to girls in school. He said he was going to lay in Parliament a bill to reform the scholarship system. We've had a scholarship secretariat since coming. There's no bill. It's remained as an office under the president with no legal backing. So that was great. The third was to provide 2 tertiary level interventions. First, no fee stress, free academic fee for first year students, and then free tertiary for PWDs, persons with disability. And then the last was to hold convene an education
forum.
Yeah, so if you look at the 5, the education forum was convened somewhere in February with regional national consultations ending in March. So it has been done.
And that was done nationally, as against the economy, which was 1.
Yeah.
Which you think is probably a better approach.
Even the promise was to do a national the promise was to do 1 forum.
But then you did it across the country.
When the committee was constituted, we told His Excellency that one wasn't enough. We've been doing Accra meetings for the past 7 years, and if you really want to have a comprehensive review, let's go and talk to the beneficiaries of public education.
So where did you go?
We went to all the regions, virtually all the regions.
You went to all 16 regions?
We had one in Borga, and the Borga one, we had people from upper northeast coming to Borga, We had one in Tamale, and Tamale we had people from Upper East,
Upper West,
Upper West, Savannah, come to Tamale. We had one in Ashanti. Ashanti was the only one we had for one region.
Okay.
All the other regions, Volta was for Volta and Uti.
Okay.
Greater Accra was Accra and Eastern. You know, so Central was Central and Western. But then we had, so every region participated. Interest group participated.
So that has been done. Checkbox.
Yeah, that has been done. But I'm not giving the government 100 on that.
Okay.
Because even though the promise is to hold a forum, I mean the forum, yes, but without a report, the forum is, you know.
Has the report been submitted?
So maybe 18 or 20, the report will be submitted sometime next week. We are all partly responsible for the report.
You are part of the committee, so you can't be marking. Okay, so the report will be submitted.
So yeah, I think that so 80 is fair.
Good.
For that one. The second is the no fee stress. That's no academic fee for first year students. Ordinarily, this promise should have been measured against September 2025.
All right.
Because the first batch of tertiary students who would have enrolled in school under the NDC government would have enrolled in 2025 FY. But somehow the government decides that even though a batch had entered before we were sworn in, we are going to refund their money to them.
So you're giving them more than 100% now?
I thought it wasn't useful. I thought it was.
Why aren't they Ghanaians?
Because we are doing, the policy is costing about 500 million a year, a batch.
But it's for people, Ghanaians, to chop. Why isn't that better than
the fiscal space in the sector is very, very, very constricted.
So even though they've done it more than they promised, you're not happy?
I'm thinking about how money is available to other subsectors and not just tertiary.
As a whole.
So I think that yes, they've announced the portal for the refunds to be made. By this morning, 8,000 have already applied. So it's demand driven. You apply, you go through a process, and then so it has been done. But disbursements haven't been done. The promise wasn't to disburse again.
Wonderful.
If we are using, he said a question. He said that I'm going to initiate this. It has been initiated. It has been launched. 499 million allocated in the budget. Portal for our applications done. 8,000 so far applied in 7 days. But this better yet to happen. So 18 over 20 fair.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Let's get to the others quickly. Sanitary parts.
Same for the PWDs.
Yes.
The same portal is being used to also identify the PWDs and provide them full tertiary. The PWD one is not just a refund of their fees. It's a refund of all expenses, accommodation, everything. Now it's full tertiary. So that is also in progress. That's also in progress. They are documenting them, they are applying, they are going through verification in the campuses, and so it's ongoing. It's been implemented. Yeah. So again, that has also been done, right? Yeah. The sanitary parts was launched 2 weeks ago or so.
Yeah.
Some pilot distribution was done there. We've seen the products. Schools just reopened 24 hours or 48 hours ago, and so distribution, I'm told, should commence once schools have reopened. So we've seen about 290 million Ghana cedis allocated for that in the budget. So I mean that's done, right?
So for the 5, he's on all fours.
The scholarships, as I mentioned, the bill has been done. We submitted our input, our memorandum 3 weeks ago. I'm told it's at the cabinet level of approval. So basically, you see significant levels of attainment. For some of them, 15 will be good because for the financing ones, if we see disbursement, then we can give 18 or 20.
Wonderful.
But
you're a very tough lecturer.
Oh no. But I am happy about the commitments.
Okay.
To hit the ground running.
Professor Canton, let me take your substantive submission. So, Prof, Agric, has the foundation been laid? What are your thoughts on President Mahama and how it started?
Well, I will say Agric in this country, unfortunately, the Fourth Republic hasn't done well at all. In sharp contrast with, well, I was not born in Nkrumah's era, but we were told what Nkrumah did, the brigade and all those things. But I recall I was in the elementary school during the Achampon's era, where Achampon did so well. In fact, it's unprecedented worldwide. In fact, United Nations, AU, and others even gave awards to the government as at that time. And I recall when I went to Russia, we had our friends from Liberia, Sierra Leone, Mozambique, and Angola that applauded Ghanaians so much because we exported rice and maize to these countries during the 1970s that are champagne.
Really?
Yes, Operation.
We used to export rice.
Oh yes, Obiarando and maize.
From Ghana?
From Ghana to Liberia.
Obiarando?
Yes, time.
Everybody should weed.
Exactly, and all of us. And we have school farms, and notably my school, the school I attended, the best school in northern Ghana, that's Navrango Secondary School.
Navasco.
Where we have a lot of very good, in fact we have over 100 acres of rice field in view. We have cattle for almost 200. We have sheep, goats, even we had a dam. Our headmaster had stocked it with fish. In fact, it was the only school in this country that we never vacated early. We will always be the last to vacate.
But we are working on the farm.
And the first to also come. Yes.
Amazing.
Because our domestic baser, Hawa Ayebo of blessed memory, I think one of Ghana's best women politicians, still up to date. I'm talking Hawa Ayebo, the Boku Central MP. Yeah. So clearly she was our we did so well. So coming back to agriculture, I think it is purely commitment. If we are sincerely committed, agriculture is not rocket science. We can turn things around, and we've done it before. So why are we not getting things done properly? So you ask yourself, there is a lot of sloganeering, rhetoric, advocacy. Agriculture doesn't like noise. Agriculture is, you focus. No, it's not like gender issues, anti-corruption. No. You focus zero on it. You don't make noise in there, and then get the job done.
Good.
As simple as that. As I have said, if you ask Ghanaians to prioritize agriculture, we've been doing it year in, year out. Cocoa doesn't even get to the place of number 15. But yet cocoa is given so special. In fact, cocoa's with this attention is far better than all the other crops. Who eats cocoa overnight? You are a typical Ebe. Akule made from cocoa.
No, we haven't
Certainly,
got there
I'm a typical northern person.
TZ.
It's TZ.
No.
And then, so clearly we can do better.
Yes, please.
Yes, and it's not far-fetched. We have the structures. In fact, we have one of the best scientists in agriculture in Africa are Ghanaians.
So let me get you right. You're saying agriculture should prioritize producing what we eat,
exactly,
rather than focusing on so-called cash crops.
Cash crops, because if you don't produce what you eat, who should produce and you will go and buy?
So this cocoa coffee thing is not the issue, right?
It's exactly.
Cowpeas,
Finish these that. Are the typical things that we eat.
Before you now do cash. But the Minister of Finance wants money.
He needs money to But how much do they even get from that? That is the question.
That's a good question.
So let's just we should be very comparative in these cities. Look at cocoa now. That's a downward trend.
Globally.
Yes. But if you take crops even like cashew, sesame and others are even doing far, far better. And like I said, if you produce food and you eat and some are left, people will always pick them.
Even there was a report in the BNF that the share industry was suffering.
Exactly. And that's why we're talking about food self-sufficiency, which is totally different from food security. So you should produce what you eat.
Okay.
I was trained in Ukraine, during the former Soviet Union. I never went to university in Ghana here. And that's another area that I was trying to talk about, the youth. The question is, what kind of youth are we training? What is this university curricula like? We're talking about technical university. I was asking people, when we say technical, what is a technical university? You see, we don't understand these things. We just arrogate them and give to institutions, which is flawed. A technical university concept is well grounded in the Russian, Australian, and German systems. And these are hands-on people. Engineering, aircraft, everything. The engineers think about the things, and these are people who implement them. Go to all the technical universities they call, ask them, even the teachers there, whether they can do these things. So how are you training someone? They are supposed, their level, they are not grammar people, like lawyers and those other people, political scientists, economists. No, these are hands-on people.
So if you want to
the education systems seriously in this country, it needs a lot of retweaking.
So
to be honest with you, it's not just talking about giving
to
funds to people here and there. I don't think that is the issue.
So back to if I want to, you want to say it's short. If I want to give one or two things I should look at if I want to assess if this government is well in agriculture. What should I look at? Say in 2-3 years' time, what should I look at?
Number one, we have to build our seed system.
Seed system.
Exactly.
Number
and that
two,
we are talking.
Don't elaborate. Just give me the.
Then you also come to mechanization.
Mechanization.
Yes.
That's number
and
two.
when I talk about mechanization, I'm not talking about tractorization. In Ghana, when we talk about mechanization, the politicians just go into tractor. They are dialectically not interrelated. You know, in Kurama did it, it didn't work. At Champon,
so mechanization means what?
When we say mechanization, we are talking of a whole gamut or cocktail of planters, tractors,
combined harvesters.
Professor Roger Canton, a research scientist and part of a panel that discussed the 120-day social contract that President John Dramani Mahama signed with the Ghanaians. This was aired earlier on Channel 1 TV. A full repetition of this particular program will be on Channel 1 TV at 9 p.m. tonight, so you can stay tuned and watch. But earlier, you heard Mary Ada, Executive Director of Transparency International. She spoke on anti-corruption and governance. You also heard Kofi Asari, Executive Director of the Africa Education Watch, and Vera Addo, Programs Officer, CDD Ghana. She spoke on inclusion and youth development. And that's it for another exciting edition of Point Blank on Eyewitness News that came to you live from our studio here in Accra. My name is Sami Riafe. I did this with Ejubi Riafe. The show was produced by Kobna Wilson, Beverly London, as well as a host of others. Good night.